Your cylinder assignment is working with 1 pound of clay. So when you're set, I like to prep at least 3 to 5 1-pound spheres of clay. I find it kind of annoying to be in the middle of throwing and you run out of clay and then have to go back and re-wedge. So if you cruise through 3 portioned out pieces today, maybe do 5 for tomorrow. Okay. So you want to wedge this up really well and get it into a sphere. Give yourself a fighting chance. Okay. And how I start all my projects is kind of the same. So I kind of forcefully throw my clay down on the wheel. You'll notice that there's no water yet. And I give it 2 taps and then start my wheel. And I use water to kind of help seal that bottom to the wheel head. So that's how I start every project. Throw it down, 2 taps, seal. Then that just ensures that that clay is not going to go anywhere. Okay. If your hands are really slimy, that's going to cause some problems for the clay sticking to the wheel, so kind of scrape them off. All right. So you have your cylinder assignment, and there is kind of a handout here that helps remind you of what the goals for your cylinder are. So with 1 pound of clay, I want you to try to make a cylinder that's about 3 inches wide by 3 inches tall. Okay. It should have about a 90-degree corner at the bottom so that you have a definite base and definite walls. 1/2 inch thick base, 1/4 inch walls, vertical, and like I said, about 3 inches of height. So that's what we're kind of aiming for. Now, you might not be able to nail all of these at once, but we're going for improvement. So if maybe you get like 3 out of those the first time, you can say, okay, well then I need to focus on, getting these 2 other requirements taken care of. Okay. You have to cut 2 in half that are very close to the required requirements in order to keep. So cut 2 in half that meet the requirements of a cylinder, and then once you do that, I'll show you how to keep your projects tomorrow. Okay. The other cheat sheet that's helpful is this that kind of shows you the 3 steps of throwing: centering, opening, and pulling. As far as speed goes, I like to center a little faster, but fast enough that you feel like you're still in control. Okay. You're going to slow it down a little bit for opening, so I like to say medium speed. And when you're pulling your walls for height, you're going to want to go slow. So fast, medium, slow. So I'm going to start by centering. So I'm going to get my wheel going fast but comfortable. Okay. Now, like all out is like a little too fast for me, and I don't think it helps anymore. So I just want to get it so that I feel comfortable with the speed, and that's pretty good. Okay. Getting ready in proper throwing position, your seat should be touching your wheel. Your legs should be around the catch, and you're kind of bending at your hips so that you get in contact with the clay. Normally you have your bucket here, but I don't want to be in the way of anybody seeing what I'm doing, just because normally you'll just do this and you don't make too much of a mess. Hands should be wet, clay should be wet. Elbows are into your hips or resting on your thighs, but close to your torso. Okay? And your hands are just going, as you press over through your hips, your hands can engage with the clay. Okay. So this is proper throwing position. Some people that have a little shorter legs, you might have to go up on tiptoes. So I normally throw on the balls of my feet just because my legs are shorter. Whatever's comfortable for you. Okay. Centering, hand position is going to be for righties. You're going to be on the left side of your clay. Do I have any lefties in the group? Okay, so then you're going to be on your right side. Okay. So your non-dominant hand is resting on the side, and your dominant hand is on top, pushing down. Okay. So for me, this is what it looks like for hand position. What's contacting the clay is the palm of your hand on your non-dominant, and the bottom part of your palm on your dominant. And so when you engage with the clay, your non-dominant hand is pushing to 12 o'clock, and your dominant hand is pushing down. And a slow release off. And if you feel like it's not centering, maybe you have your speed a little too fast, so you can slow it down a little bit. So my fingers really don't do a lot of work. I can actually kind of not have my fingers touching my clay at all. Here's where the clay is touching my palms, here and here. Okay. So you push to 12 o'clock. You get it centered. Now some people will just work on this all day, and that's okay. It's worth the time. Push it off center. Try to recover it. Your body should be quiet and still. Hands should be steady, and the clay will center. If you have a lot of other things moving around, the clay will not center on you. Okay. Always a slow release with your hands too. Okay. Once you feel comfortable with centering, then you can progress forward to opening. So opening, what we're trying to do is we're creating a hole. We're going to pull that hole open so you have kind of the inside of your container. And then we're going to compress the base to make it stronger. So from my hand positions, I go from this to this. So it's really just my dominant hand is shifting to 6 o'clock. Okay. And I'm going to use my fingers to push down. And I don't want to go straight down, I want to do it more of like a funnel, kind of a cone shape, because that's a little easier to move. Okay, so I'm just pressing down, and I'm going to stop my wheel, and I'm going to check my base for thickness. So I have about a ½ inch of clay for the bottom. If it's a little thicker, go ahead and start your wheel push down a little farther. If it's a little thin, just continue on practicing with this chunk of clay, and know next time don't push down so much. Okay. You can't really put a clay in there to fix it or patch it. It doesn't work very well. Alright, so I slowed down my speed a little bit here. What I'm going to do now is take my dominant hand and I'm going to pull it towards my belly button. Okay. So I'm going to have my fingers at kind of a 45 to start with, and I'm using mostly the pressure in my fingertips. And can you see that cast shadow? Starting to create more of a wall instead of just a donut of clay. And I want to watch my clay at the bottom so that I'm not making a cone or I'm not pushing down and making divots. I'm just pulling towards my belly button, nice and slow. Okay. If you're going too fast, you can get it off center. Okay, so if you do feel like it's a little wonky, just slow your hands down, let the clay correct itself before you stretch it anymore. Then what I'll do is I'll take my fingers and I'll just kind of put them up on the fingertips so I create that 90-degree corner. You normally see a little cast shadow happen. So then I have a definite flat bottom and a definite vertical wall. Last step in opening is compressing your base, and this is super important. If you forget this step, chances are you will get a crack in the bottom of your piece that you will not be able to fix later down the road. So this is the only time to kind of prevent that. I'm taking my sponge and yes, I'm flattening it, but I'm also pushing with some force so that I'm compressing that clay. Very similar how you would use a rib for the base of your coil pot to compress. We're just using a sponge for our clay on the wheel. I'm just bringing back that 90-degree corner a little because it got lost. Okay, so now I'm ready to do the next part, which is pulling my walls. So everybody gets their hands out. You wrap your thumbs. Put your hands out. Wrap your thumbs. Fold your hands. Okay. That's how your hands have to be against the clay. Okay. Now I find this hand position hard to control. I don't really like it. So my slight adjustment is my dominant hand. I put up my pointer, make a fist with all my other fingers, and my pointer becomes a hook. Okay, that's what's going to be on the outside of my clay. And my other hand is just going to, my thumb is going to rest on the top part of my hand, and it becomes kind of like a pliers. Okay, I find that this is what's comfortable for me, but you got to try it out and figure out what's comfortable for you. Okay, so that clay is going to be between those two hands. My hands are touching, so they're working together. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knuckle and I'm going to kind of dig underneath that clay to get an access. I kind of call it the donut of clay, and I'm going to pull that donut up for height. Okay, so I kind of have to dig under the clay a little bit. And now I'm applying pressure both inside and outside, kind of equal and opposite, and raising to my nose. My elbows are on my legs. As I get close to the top, I'm going to release pressure. If you don't, you're going to tear through the lip. The lip is a little messy, so I'm going to clean that up just by compressing it a little so it's in control. It's a good habit to get into, to compress after every pull. Re-wet my walls and go back for another one. Oops. Knuckle in, getting some clay to move up. Hands are nice and steady. Slow release. And compress that wall. If you find that your clay is going out a little bit, you can do what's called collaring. You're just kind of surrounding the outside and squeezing in. Going up. So there's the start of a cylinder. So this is what you're all going to do. You have to cut 2 cylinders in half and assess for quality. So 1/2 inch base, 90-degree corner, 1/4 inch walls, and about 3 inches of height. This is 4 inches of height. Okay. And so that would pass, and then I have to do one more, and then I can start to keep, and you can keep up to 5 pieces. So tomorrow's demo, I'll show you how you finish a cylinder to keep.